I'm Erika, and my wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. The music was playing softly, everyone was smiling, and I could feel my heart beating faster as Kevin took my hands. He looked at me like I was his whole world. I thought nothing could ruin this moment. Until the priest said, "If anyone has any objections, speak now or forever hold your peace." For a second there was silence, just the sound of my heartbeat, and then a voice from the crowd. "Kevin, don't do this. She's not the woman she pretends to be." It was a woman's voice, sharp, trembling, and terrifyingly sure of itself. My first instinct was to laugh, to look around and find out who would make such a cruel joke. But when I turned and saw her, standing near the back of the church in a pale blue dress, her hands shaking but her eyes steady, the air disappeared from my lungs. A murmur ran through the guests like a wave. "Who is she?" someone whispered. Kevin's mother gasped softly. Kevin's grip on my hands loosened. "Erika," he whispered, searching my face. "What is she talking about?" I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My tongue felt like it belonged to someone else. I could only stare at the woman who should have been thousands of miles away, living a life I tried so hard to forget. The room began to tilt. The organist stopped playing. Someone stood up. Another dropped their phone. My vision narrowed until all I could see was her face. Familiar, furious, and so full of the past I buried. And then, darkness. When I woke up, everything was white. Ceiling, walls, sheets. The steady beeping beside me told me I was in a hospital. My throat ached, my head spun, and for a long moment I couldn't remember where I was or why. Then I saw the bouquet on the table, the same white roses from my wedding, and it all came crashing back. Kevin sat beside my bed. His jacket was off, his shirt wrinkled, tie hanging loose around his neck. His eyes were red, his hands restless in his lap. He looked like he'd been sitting there for hours. He noticed I was awake and leaned forward. "Erika," he said softly, "please tell me that woman was lying." My mouth felt dry. "What woman?" He hesitated. "The one at the church. She said you're not who you pretend to be, that you lied to me." His voice cracked a little. "Tell me she's crazy. Please." Before I could answer, the door opened. My mother came in, her face pale but fierce. The moment she saw Kevin, her expression hardened. "I think you should leave," she said, her voice like a blade. "Mrs. Green, please, now." Kevin stood, torn between guilt and confusion. "I love her," he said helplessly. "Then respect her," my mother shot back. "She needs rest." He looked at me one last time, eyes full of questions I wasn't brave enough to answer, and left. The door closed behind him, leaving only the steady rhythm of the monitor and the hum of the air conditioner. My mother sat down beside me, brushing the hair off my forehead. "Are you okay, darling?" she whispered. I wanted to say yes, to tell her it was all a misunderstanding, that everything was fine, that I was still the same daughter she believed in. But lies were what got me here. "No, Mom," I whispered. "I'm not." Her eyes softened, full of the kind of love that forgives everything before it even hears the truth. "You don't have to talk about it now. We'll figure it out later." But I knew there would be no later, because the woman who ruined my wedding wasn't a stranger, and what she said wasn't entirely false. I stared at the window where the rain had begun to fall against the glass, soft and rhythmic, like a metronome marking the return of time I'd spent trying to erase. After a long silence, I said quietly, "It started 9 years ago." Mom frowned, confused. "What did?" "My lie," I said, "the one that changed everything." I closed my eyes, and the sterile white walls faded away. Suddenly, I was 22 again, sitting at a piano under golden light, the sound of laughter and champagne glasses echoing around me. I could smell the perfume of strangers, feel the smooth ivory keys beneath my fingers. Back to the night I met Henry Banks, back to where it all began, though at first it didn't seem like the beginning of anything. Just another event, another piano, Another evening playing background music for people who'd never know my name. It was a corporate gala at the Langford Hotel in Chicago. Chandeliers, champagne, and the smell of polished wood mixed with expensive perfume. I was 22, hired through an agency, dressed in my one good black dress, trying to look older, calmer, more certain of who I was. My hands glided over the piano keys, notes floating through the room like soft perfume. The guests smiled, talked over my music, toasted, laughed. I had learned to disappear behind the sound, but one man was listening. He stood near the bar, tall, broad-shouldered, early 50s maybe, watching me with quiet attention. He didn't look away when I caught his gaze. There was something in his posture, calm, commanding, that made the room feel smaller. When the last note faded, he approached, clapping lightly. "You play beautifully," he said. His voice had that careful, expensive tone people who give orders for a living often have. "Where did you study?" I hesitated. The truth, a few semesters at a local community college before money ran out, didn't sound very glamorous. I wanted to sound like I belonged here, among people whose lives didn't depend on tips. "At Juilliard," I said, forcing a smile. His eyebrows lifted. "Really? My daughter studied there too, Stacy Banks." The name meant nothing to me, but I nodded as if it did. "Oh yes, I think I remember her." He smiled wistfully. "Do you? I wish I still did. She's wasting her life these days. Greece, beaches, some Greek boyfriend named Demetrios. No work, no ambition. Just drifting." He sighed, looking at me again. "You're the kind of woman she should have been. Focused, talented, working for what you have." The compliment warmed me, though it shouldn't have. Then, out of nowhere, he said, "Maybe you could talk to her." I blinked. "Sorry?" "Talk to her," he repeated. "Maybe she'd listen to someone her age. You seem grounded. Maybe you could inspire her." Before I could protest, he waved someone over and smiled at me. "Let's take a photo. I'll tell her I met one of her old classmates." He stood beside me, hand resting lightly on my shoulder. The flash went off. Henry Banks, that was his name, typed something quickly into his phone, then handed me his card. "Send her a message, would you? I'll let her know to expect it." He was already shaking hands with someone else before I could reply. Later that night, back in my tiny apartment above a laundromat, I stared at the photo Henry had texted me. Me beside him, my polite half-smile, his confident grin. He'd sent it with a short message. "Here's Stacy's number. Be kind to her, she needs it." I hadn't planned to write, but maybe it was curiosity, maybe boredom. Or maybe that same strange rush I'd felt when Henry called me the woman his daughter should have been. So I texted, "Hi Stacy, we met at Juilliard. I ran into your dad tonight and he asked me to say hello." Attached, the selfie with Henry. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. "Are you my dad's new girlfriend? Because if you are, delete my number and never text me again." I stared at the message, stunned. "No, of course not. He just mentioned you and told me to say hi." I typed back quickly, no response. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone in my hand, heart thudding faster than it should. And then, I don't know why, I opened my laptop and searched her name. Stacy Banks. Thousands of photos. Her on a yacht in Santorini in designer dresses, with her golden hair caught by the sun. Her smiling with friends, with a man, tall, dark, beautiful, labeled Demetrios. The kind of life that looks too perfect to be real. I stared at the screen for a long time, feeling something that wasn't quite envy, not quite anger, maybe fascination, maybe hunger. Then an idea crept in, not fully formed, not serious, not yet dangerous. What if I just played along? Just for fun, just for curiosity. I searched for Juilliard Student List 2010 alumni. It took time, scrolling through names until one caught my eye. Rose Grove. No social media accounts, no public photos, nothing. A ghost. Perfect. I switched back to my messages and typed, "By the way, you might remember me as Rose Grove. I changed my name to Erika after graduation. Long story. I hesitated before hitting send, my finger hovering. It was just a small lie, one that didn't hurt anyone. It felt like slipping into a costume. Harmless. The message went through. A minute later, the reply arrived. Rosie, my dear mysterious Rosie. You had to tell me that from the start. No wonder I didn't recognize you. I'll call you tonight. We have so much to catch up on. I froze, staring at the glowing screen. My heart skipped once, twice. It was working. I had no idea who Rose Grove was, what she sounded like, what her friendship with Stacy might have been, if any. But Stacy remembered the name. She believed it. And suddenly, the game didn't feel so harmless anymore. I should have stopped, deleted the chat, blocked her number. Instead, I poured a glass of cheap wine, set my phone on the pillow beside me, and waited for it to ring. When it finally did, hours later, I answered. Her voice came through bright and familiar, as if we really had known each other once. Rosie, my mysterious Rosie, she laughed, and I caught the sound of waves in the background. God, how long has it been? You disappeared off the face of the earth. I didn't know what to say, so I laughed too. Yeah, I guess I did. Still playing piano? She asked between sips of something that clinked like ice in a glass. Sometimes, I said vaguely. Well, you always were the dramatic one, she teased. You should see my life now, it's insane. And just like that, I didn't have to lie anymore. Stacy filled the space between us with stories about the beaches of Mykonos, her boyfriend Dimitrios. You'd die if you saw him, Rosie, he's basically a Greek god. About endless parties, designer boutiques, the kind of freedom that comes from never worrying about money or consequences. She talked and I listened. Sometimes she laughed mid-sentence, that effortless kind of laugh that sounds like nothing bad has ever happened to her. I poured myself wine and smiled into the empty room, letting her voice paint the life I'd always wanted. An hour later, just as I thought the call was ending, she said, You know what? Come visit me. I owe you anyway. Time to pay my debt. I blinked. Debt? She laughed. You don't remember? Of course you don't. You were always too modest. You helped me so much back in school. I probably wouldn't have graduated without you. She was making it up, but she believed it, and for reasons I still can't explain, I didn't correct her. Come, Rosie, she insisted. My villa is huge and I'm bored out of my mind. You can stay as long as you want. I said yes before my brain caught up with my mouth. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the sound of the sea through her phone. Or maybe it was that tiny, greedy part of me that wanted to see what her world really looked like. The sun was blinding when I landed in Greece. The air smelled of salt and jasmine, and even the wind felt different, slower, warmer, like it had nowhere else to be. A white convertible waited for me at the tiny airport, with a driver holding a sign that said, Rosie Grove, in bold letters. Seeing that fake name printed so confidently gave me a strange thrill. Stacy's villa sat on a hill overlooking the Aegean, white stone walls draped in bougainvillea, a pool that melted into the horizon. It didn't look real. It looked like something out of a dream I had no business walking into. When she appeared at the top of the stairs, barefoot and sunburned, she looked genuinely happy to see me. Rosie, she squealed, running down to hug me. You actually came. For a second, I forgot to breathe. She smelled like coconut and salt water. Of course I did, I managed to say. Come in, come in. We only got home an hour ago. We've been in Santorini all week, she said, pulling me through the door. The living room looked like a magazine spread, linen curtains, sea view, half-empty bottles of rosé on the marble table. And then I saw him. He was sitting on the couch, shirt unbuttoned, eyes the color of dark honey. Dimitrios. He looked up from his phone and smiled lazily, and for a moment, I thought my heart stopped. Rosie, meet my Greek tragedy, Stacy joked, dropping her purse onto the floor. Dimitrios, this is my old friend. Don't stare too much. She's jet-lagged and probably delusional. I must have blushed. I wasn't... He grinned. Welcome to Mykonos, Rosie. His voice had that low, melodic accent that made even simple words sound like secrets. Stacy winked at him. "I know he's handsome, but he's mine." We laughed. It felt easy, dangerous, but easy. That first evening passed in a blur of champagne and music. They took me out to the cliffs where a small group of friends waited, tan, rich, carefree people who greeted me like I'd always been one of them. Stacy introduced me as Rosie, my musical genius friend from Juilliard, and no one questioned it. We danced under fairy lights, Demetrios played guitar, Stacy sang off-key and poured wine for everyone. I remember watching her gold hair tangled from the wind, her skin glowing under the moonlight, and thinking she had everything. The kind of life that never touched the ground. Over the next few days, the villa became its own little universe. Mornings by the pool, afternoons on boats, nights in loud clubs where no one paid for anything. Stacy never carried cash. She didn't need to. She said, "Money's just a number, Rosie. It disappears, it comes back, who cares?" I laughed along, pretending I understood. She paid for everything. My clothes, dinners, even the sunglasses she said matched my new island aura. I told her my bank card wasn't working because of European transaction issues. She didn't even blink. Sometimes I caught Demetrios watching me. Not in a flirtatious way, but curious. Like he was trying to figure out what kind of person I was. He'd ask small questions. Where I grew up, what kind of music I liked, and I'd answer carefully, keeping to safe lies. But when he smiled, it felt like he saw through all of them. And at night, when Stacy fell asleep, I'd lie in the guest room staring at the ceiling, hearing them laugh in the next room, and wonder what it would feel like to be her. Her villa, her boyfriend, her perfect, glittering life. I tried not to compare us, but I did. She wasn't prettier, not really. Her features were soft, ordinary even. But she carried herself like someone who never doubted she was loved. That kind of confidence is magnetic. It makes people orbit you. I thought about Demetrios, his quiet charm, his laugh, the way his eyes lingered when Stacy wasn't looking, and something sharp twisted in my chest. He was too good for her, I thought. If not for her father's money, he'd never have chosen her. I hated myself for thinking it, but the thought stayed anyway, deep and stubborn. 10 days passed in a haze of sun and laughter, and with every one of them, I felt myself slipping further away from who I'd been before. Because once you've stepped into someone else's world, it's hard to remember where yours even was. It started with the sea. That afternoon, the light was softer than usual, golden, slow, lazy. Stacy had left that morning for Athens to see her aunt and shop properly, as she called it, promising to be back in 2 days. She left behind chaos, open suitcases, perfume lingering in the air, and a villa that suddenly felt too quiet. Demetrios and I stayed. At first we tried to pretend nothing had changed. He worked on something at his laptop, some vague business I never really understood, and I played the piano in the living room, letting the music fill the silence. By sunset, the villa glowed like honey. I opened a bottle of wine, pretending it was for both of us, though I wasn't sure what I wanted. He joined me on the terrace, barefoot, a cigarette between his fingers. The sea below shimmered like glass. "You play like you mean it," he said softly. "Maybe I do." He smiled faintly. "Most people here don't mean anything." We drank in silence for a while. The air smelled like salt and rosemary. When he spoke again, his tone had changed, quieter, vulnerable. "You know, Stacy wasn't always like this," he said. "When we met, she was different, funny, alive. But now, I don't know. Sometimes I think she loves the idea of me more than me." I stared at him, the confession sitting between us like an open wound. "Maybe she's just lost," I said. "Maybe," he murmured. Then he looked at me. "But you're not lost." I laughed softly, even though my throat was tight. "You don't know me." He tilted his head. "No? I think I do. You're not like the others." I wanted to tell him that he was wrong, that I was worse, that everything about me, My name, my story, my friendship with Stacy was borrowed, stolen. But instead, I said nothing. The waves below crashed softly against the rocks. Somewhere in the distance, music floated from another villa. Something romantic, slow, careless. "Maybe we're both lost," I whispered. He turned toward me then, his face only inches away. The air changed, the kind of stillness that feels like a choice. "Maybe," he said again. I didn't know who leaned in first. Maybe him, maybe me. But when our lips met, it felt inevitable. The final note of a song that had been playing from the moment we met. The kiss deepened, clumsy and desperate, like both of us were trying to forget something. It should have ended there. It didn't. When it was over, neither of us spoke. The silence afterward was almost unbearable, heavy with guilt, electricity, and something that tasted too much like freedom. That night, we didn't sleep. When Stacy returned 2 days later, she was radiant, shopping bags in her hands, stories tumbling out of her mouth. But there was something in her eyes, something sharp. Maybe she'd noticed the way Demetrios barely looked at her. Maybe she saw the shift, the invisible current running between us. At dinner, she asked questions that weren't really questions. "So, Rosie, how was your little staycation with my boyfriend?" I laughed awkwardly. "Quiet, peaceful." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Oh, I bet." Demetrios said nothing. The silence that followed stretched too long, too tight. Then she set down her glass and said calmly, "You know, I had the strangest dream in Athens. In it, you kissed him." I froze. "What?" Her voice stayed light. "Crazy, right?" Demetrios pushed his chair back. "Stacy?" "Oh, don't Stacy me!" she snapped, her tone turning venomous. "Do you think I'm stupid?" Her chair screeched as she stood. The storm came fast, her words sharp, rapid, wild. "I let you into my home, I paid for everything, and you repay me by crawling into my bed when I'm gone?" I opened my mouth, searching for something, anything, an excuse, a lie, a reason, but there wasn't one. "It wasn't like that." "Then how was it?" she screamed. I looked at Demetrios. He stared back, his jaw tight, and something inside me, maybe pride, maybe shame, twisted cruelly. "You said you owed me a debt," I spat. "Consider it paid." Her face froze, confusion breaking through her fury. "Debt?" I could feel my pulse pounding. "Yeah, you told me you owed me, remember? Maybe now we're even." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "What are you talking about?" Then louder, trembling now. "You're not Rose." The room went still. "Who are you?" she shouted. "You're not her. Rose would have known it was a joke. Who the hell are you?" I didn't answer. Couldn't. She looked at me like I was something inhuman, something that had crawled out of her perfect world to ruin it. Demetrios stepped forward, his voice quiet but steady. "Stop it, Stacy." "Stop it?" she barked. "She lied to you, to me, to everyone. I don't care," he snapped. She flinched, and that was it. The moment everything collapsed. That night, I packed my things. I didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't stay. When I stepped outside, the air was thick and humid. I heard voices inside, shouting, crying, glass breaking. Then silence. Moments later, Demetrios came out, his eyes red, a small bag over his shoulder. "Let's go," he said. We didn't have a plan. Just each other and a handful of chaos. He took her car, drove through the night, down winding coastal roads until the villa disappeared behind us. We stopped at a gas station before dawn. He handed me a velvet pouch. Inside, her jewelry. "She won't notice right away," he said quietly. I should have felt sick. Instead, I felt alive. We sold the pieces in Athens a week later, enough to buy 2 plane tickets to Thailand. We told ourselves it was freedom, not theft, not betrayal, just escape. For a year, we drifted across Asia. Islands, beaches, cheap hotels. I played piano in bars. He painted sometimes. We laughed, fought, loved, spent money we didn't earn. But freedom fades fast when it's built on someone else's ruin. Demetrios changed slowly. His smile grew sharper, his eyes colder. He started disappearing for days, coming back with excuses I didn't believe. By the time he left for good, he didn't even say goodbye. Just a note on the hotel dresser. It's time for me to stop running. When he left, the silence was unbearable. For a few days, I kept thinking he'd come back, that I'd hear the soft click of the hotel door, his tired voice saying Rosie the way he used to, quiet, gentle, like he was relieved to find me still there. But the door stayed closed. Demetrios was gone. So was the money. I sat on the edge of that bed in a small room somewhere in Phuket, the ceiling fan turning slow circles above me, and realized how far I'd fallen. The ocean outside was turquoise and endless, but it didn't feel like paradise anymore. It felt like exile. I sold everything I had, bought a one-way ticket home. On the flight, I told myself I'd start over. No past, no lies, no men who could take everything and leave nothing. I landed in New York with a single suitcase, $200, and a name that no longer fit. For a while, I slept in a friend's spare room, played piano at hotel lounges again, and avoided mirrors. I told people I'd lived abroad, that I'd been teaching music, that I'd left Greece because it was time for something new. Every lie was a shield. Then came Kevin. He was everything Demetrios wasn't: steady, kind, real. He worked in architecture, had quiet dreams and honest eyes. He didn't live in the kind of world I used to chase, he built it. We met at a charity event of all places, me behind the piano again, him among the guests. Afterward, he came up to say he loved my playing, and I laughed, remembering a different man saying the same thing years ago. But Kevin wasn't Henry Banks. He didn't see performance. He saw me, or the version of me I allowed him to see. He asked for coffee. Coffee became dinner. Dinner became Sunday mornings at his apartment, reading the paper in bed, pretending that I was someone normal. He didn't ask too many questions, and I gave him all the right answers. When he proposed, I cried. Not from joy, but from relief. Relief that maybe, finally, I'd escaped the person I used to be. For 3 years, life felt stable, predictable, safe. I almost believed the past had given up on me. But the past has patience. I didn't know that Stacy never told her father what really happened in Greece. She didn't report the theft, didn't mention my name. Henry died 2 years later, never learning the truth. For everyone else, the story was simple. Stacy and Demetrios broke up. She moved back to London, started working for one of her father's foundations. The scandal stayed buried, but she couldn't let go. I'd taken something from her: her pride, her trust, her illusion that money could keep her safe. So she hired someone, a private investigator, and he found her proof. He found me. He found that the woman named Erika Green, a musician living in New York, was never enrolled at Juilliard, that her passport had stamps matching the year Stacy's jewelry disappeared, that there was no record of Rose Grove ever changing her name legally. Piece by piece, Stacy rebuilt the puzzle I thought I'd destroyed. And she waited. Not out of rage, not even for justice, for satisfaction. I sometimes wonder when she decided to do it, whether she planned it the moment she saw my wedding announcement online, or if she'd been tracking me long before. Either way, she came. The morning of my wedding was perfect. Clear sky, gentle wind. My mother fussing with my veil while Kevin laughed, calling her our general. I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, this is what redemption looks like. The church smelled of roses and incense. The music started. I walked down the aisle, my heart calm, steady. Kevin's eyes met mine, and for a moment everything was silent except for the sound of my own heartbeat, until the priest said the words. If anyone has any objections, speak now or forever hold your peace. And the voice came. Kevin, don't do this. She's not the woman she pretends to be. I didn't recognize it at first. 9 years is a long time. But when I turned, saw her standing at the back of the church in a pale dress, her blonde hair pinned up the same careless way she used to wear it on the beaches of Mykonos, my stomach turned to ice. Stacy Banks, alive, composed, smiling. She's not who she says she is, she continued. 9 years ago, she pretended to be Rose Grove. She lied about everything. And she stole from me. Ask her about Greece. Ask her about my jewelry. Ask her about my life." The crowd gasped. My mother stood frozen. Kevin looked at me like he didn't know who I was. "She's not who she pretends to be," Stacy said one last time, softer now, as if she were giving a eulogy. "She stole my life. And she stole from me." Her words hung in the air like smoke. Kevin's hands dropped from mine. His lips parted, but no words came. "Is it true?" he whispered. And I couldn't answer. I opened my mouth, but every explanation, every excuse, they all sounded like what they were: lies. The silence grew unbearable. I could feel the weight of every stare pressing against my back. I turned to look at Stacy. She wasn't angry. She wasn't even triumphant. She just looked finished. That was her revenge. Not to scream, not to ruin me with noise, but to take away the only thing I had left: peace. The next sound I heard was my own heartbeat, fast, uneven, terrified, before everything went black again. When I woke up in the hospital hours later, the first thing I saw was my mother's face. Her eyes were swollen from crying, but her hand was steady as it brushed my hair away. "Are you okay, darling?" she whispered. I swallowed hard. "No, Mom, not anymore." Outside the window it was raining, a steady, cold drizzle washing down the glass like the world was trying to clean itself of what had happened. But some things don't wash away. They just wait. And Stacy had waited long enough. The apartment feels too quiet without Kevin. His jacket still hangs on the back of the chair. The mug he used every morning sits by the sink, faint coffee stains on the rim. It's strange, the way ordinary things become ruins after someone leaves, silent reminders of a world that no longer exists. I haven't heard from him since the wedding. He didn't block me, didn't send angry messages, didn't ask for explanations. He just disappeared. Maybe that's his way of surviving. At night, I scroll through my phone, through the photos I shouldn't have kept. Mykonos, the blinding sunlight, the sea turning gold at sunset, Stacy's laughter echoing off the terrace, Dimitrios's eyes, dark, steady, the way he used to look at me before everything went wrong. I can still smell the salt air, feel the heat on my skin, hear the distant rhythm of waves against the rocks. Sometimes I wonder if that girl, Rosie, was ever real, or if she was just the person I invented to escape myself. I thought that by burying her, I could start over. But lies don't stay buried. They grow roots. Last week I wrote to Stacy. Not an apology full of excuses, not a plea. Just a few sentences. "I know I hurt you. I know I stole something I can't return. I'm sorry. I hope you find peace someday. I hope we both do." She replied the next morning. "I already have. Take care, Erika. No anger, no forgiveness, just finality. And somehow, that was enough. I don't know if Kevin will ever forgive me, or even want to see me again. Maybe he shouldn't. But I hope he remembers that somewhere under all the lies, there was love. Real love. The kind that made me believe even for a moment that I could change." Some nights I sit at the piano again. My hands still remember the melodies I used to play at those glittering parties, back when music was the only honest thing about me. The notes spill into the room softly, uncertainly, like confessions whispered too late. Outside, the city glows. Somewhere, people are falling in love, making promises they hope they can keep. I press my fingers to the keys and close my eyes. For a heartbeat, I can almost see it all again. The white villa, the sea, the light on Dimitrios's face, Stacy laughing, carefree, before we both became women with ghosts. And for the first time in years, I let myself cry, not for what I lost, but for what might still be waiting. Because maybe forgiveness isn't a door someone else opens for you. Maybe it's the moment you stop running. I wipe my eyes, take a deep breath, and start to play again. Slower this time, but clearer. The music fills the empty room, rises toward the window, and drifts out into the night. A song without lies, a beginning disguised as an ending.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like, subscribe, and explore our channel for more love, betrayal, and redemption tales.